Race for the new UK Prime Minister is underway. British Home Secretary Theresa May establishing herself as a frontrunner after winning the first round of voting, receiving more votes than the second and third place finishers combined. Here now is Steve Hilton, former senior advisor to Prime Minister David Cameron and Crowdpack CEO. He's also author of More Human. Steve, good to see you. Theresa May, we should tell our American viewers, was for staying in the EU. But after the vote, she said the following: there must be no attempts to remain inside the EU, no attempts to rejoin it through the back door, and no second referendum. So she's telling people that she respects their opinion, even though she disagreed with it. She will honor their vote. Do the British people believe her?
Well, it's certainly the right thing for her to say if she wants to win. But I think the idea that the outcome of this extraordinary referendum, with its momentous decision to leave the EU, should be that someone who actually wanted to stay in the EU comes out on top. I think that's going to be a hard sell.
Do you believe her, by the way, that she is willing to switch gears now in the EU?
Oh, I certainly do. I think that she's a very serious and sincere politician. I worked with her myself when I was working in 10 Downing Street, so I'm sure that she means it. But I just think that fundamentally, when such a big decision has been taken, for someone who's on the losing side of it to end up winning a leadership election, and not just to be leader of the British Conservative Party, but to become Prime Minister, I think that in the end, people will feel that they will be more confident that the negotiations to leave the EU will produce the outcome they voted for if those negotiations are led by someone who actually campaigned to leave.
By the way, maybe it's just because I'm old enough to remember her and loved her, Margaret Thatcher, but you look at a Conservative MP running for Prime Minister, you can't help but to think of Margaret Thatcher. Are there similarities?
I think so, to be honest. I think that she's certainly a very tough negotiator. I certainly experienced that myself, and she's very practical and hardworking. So a lot of the similar qualities are there, and that is in many ways the basis of her campaign. She's not saying so explicitly, but she's making those kinds of comparisons, and those who support her
Margaret
saying that kind of thing.
Thatcher would have fit well in this environment, this political environment, because she was against the establishment, the old aristocratic establishment that controlled politics in Britain, and she broke through it. She was from a humble origin. Does Theresa May have that same background?
I think that the personal background is pretty similar. They are both from reasonably humble origins, but there's a really big difference. I think that Margaret Thatcher was fired up by a radical desire to reform the economy, to curb the power of the unions, to change fundamentally the way Britain worked, and to put power in the hands of people. And that has been her hallmark all through her career. I think Theresa May, although she's certainly a very competent administrator, doesn't seem to me to have that same radical reforming intent.
That's too bad. Doesn't have the fire in the belly. Steve Hilton, thank you very much. Good to see you, Steve.